Gonna spotlight you, Tara. So today we have Tara Wall with us. She is a business owner herself, so she's not a bookkeeper. However, I feel like in our space, it's really important to pay attention to what others are doing and how other moms are rocking their business. So we invited Tara on here because she is just a gem of an angel. I'll let her introduce a little bit about her business and what she's doing, but she's going to talk to us today about rest and work-life balance. And, we just kind of thought this was fitting leaving tax season because it's been a really hectic tax season this year for a lot of bookkeepers. We've heard that more than normal. So we just wanted to pause and talk about it, let our bodies rest and figure things out before we make more pushes in the future. So Tara, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. I did not think about tax season and you poor people getting all these last minute creative bookkeepers like ready for answering to the federal government. So and the state. So kudos to you guys. I did hear a rumor that you are all struggling with burnout, and I thought, well, I can at least share what I do know, what I know not to do, and what I know to do. So I'm so grateful to be here today.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us. We do really appreciate the time. But I know you teach other women so many things. So we're excited. If you want to take the floor, feel free. And then guys, if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I will ping Tara with them. I'm also watching YouTube if you're there. If you want to chime in to the conversation, feel free, and we'll make sure Tara sees those and gets those answered for you.
Yeah, great. Okay, well, I'll just give you my spiel, and then yeah, if you guys want to jump in and we'll address whatever you need me to at the end. I want to come to you, like Sherry said, like as a fellow business owner, as a mom, as a friend, and I'm no stranger to juggling all the things. I'm with you in the trenches. I have 7 kiddos. 6 are at home with me right now between the ages of 10 and 20, and 2 of them have special needs from foster care. We adopted them from the foster care system into adoption about 4 years ago, and I feel like a lot of us have special needs because of what we went through in that whole process, and that was a whole journey that I'm still writing about. And so my husband and I have 2 businesses together. I helped him get his auto body shop off the ground. And after we ended up with 6 kiddos in the house that needed so much, I had to step away from that business. And he just gave me the freedom to make my own. He said, whatever it is you want to do, like, just do it. And I was so lost and so immersed in my kids, I didn't know what that was. And it took a while to figure out, we had to close our home to foster care, but I couldn't unsee those kids. And from that, we ended up creating, I did, Consider the Fields, which is our online store. We started with a t-shirt subscription club, and we had so much community support. We created a nonprofit to go along with it, and it's called the Project Hope Foundation, and it's designed to be a long-term home for women to recover from abuse and addiction with their children. So the idea is to get this family healed as a unit, to get those mamas the community support that they need to succeed. And so we're still in the grassroots process. It's been like a 3-4 year journey, but I'm about to finish my bachelor's in English and writing from 20 years ago. And juggling all the kiddos. And then on top of that, about 2.5 years ago, I ended up fighting COVID and ended up with pneumonia. And I've been trying to heal from pulmonary fibrosis ever since then. So in the last couple of months, we've had some huge breakthroughs with like clinical trials, and God has really just made a way for me to be able to finish so many things that I felt like he led me to start. And I'm going, who am I? I just feel like Moses, like I am not the person for this job, but he just opened the door, and I want to be obedient. So that's why I'm here today. So I have so much compassion for all of you as you try to figure out how to be the best mama, how to be the best wife, how to do, juggle all the things that you feel like you're called to do. I am not a believer in leaving your dreams on the shelf. And that's something that's just come to my heart. The last 4 or 5 years, I've had the courage to believe that. I think as moms, we put our own needs and our own wants on the shelf. And I don't believe that that's God's best for us to just shelve the dreams that He's given us. I think He is a creative God and He can make where there is lack. And yes, we do need to take care of our kiddos, their needs and our husband's needs and our marriage, but not their wants all the time. That's not our job. We have to model obedience to the Lord. That could really be the greatest gift that we ever model for our kiddos. And so I'm working through all of that too with you today. So just want to plant that seed that like, it's okay. You've got to give yourself permission. You serve an audience of one first. And from that, everything else will flow. So I'm with you in the race, right? We're all going through things. And I just want to make the point. It was in the sixth season that I couldn't do anything. I lost my breath. I lost my strength. My lungs were just shot. And that's when God sat me down. And it was the hardest, loneliest season of my life that I'm still coming out of. But what He did in that hard season was teach me to start writing again. And I couldn't walk the store. I couldn't order product. I mean, but I needed so many people to help me. I was in bed so much of the time and trying to show up for my kids. I had nothing left for our store, our subscription club, anything. And that's when I started writing Bible studies. So that's when God was just like, you need to learn. You need to learn how to delegate. You need to learn how to do life better. And part of that was delegating. And even along with the Bible studies, we have our t-shirt club that has a verse on it somewhere in there every month. And so from that, we unpack an entire, it's a downloadable, printable, so that got me back in the Word in a deeper way than I ever was. And so you see the multi-purpose things that God does for us, even in our hard, dark places. So I am so grateful for that. And out of that also, I started going back to school. So I'm about to graduate in a few weeks, but it has been a long haul. Yeah. I have my bachelor's in English and writing on May 11th. So this is really exciting for me, but it has been a long haul. And I want to encourage you that you can do it too. You can do whatever God has called you to do. He will give you the wisdom and He'll give you the grace. Things fall off my plate every day, but I'm going to try to encourage you with some things that I do that might help you incorporate into your own life. So again, if there's questions or whatever, Sherry, you just let me know and I'll just keep on keeping on. So in that middle of taking on my bachelor's on top of everything else, it was like, wow, this is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back, right? And it was just really scary for me to say yes. I felt like the first thing that was going to happen was I was going to fail my kiddos, right? And so when God was just teaching me, how important rest was, and I literally physically couldn't do anything. And the practicality and the importance of rest and avoiding burnout. Like that's the number one way we want to recover from it, right? Is try to avoid it ever happening in our lives. And you can feel when it's coming, right? And when you're just faking it till you make it, or you're just showing up just to show up, but you're not feeling it. And that's not the abundant life. That's not what God's best is for His daughters, for all of His kids. Imagine a church that is serving, you're working your ministry and you're serving out of love and out of overflow. It shouldn't be this is all I have left, and so this is what you get. And He'll use it, but that is not His intention. That's for a season and that's for a sprint. That's not the way that we need to design our lives, right? So we really want to set our lives up in a way that avoids burnout before we get there. It's a lot easier to recover before you've hit rock bottom, for sure. So I want to encourage you in that. He tells us, honor the Sabbath and keep it holy. And I don't know if you're anything like me, but I'm a works-based. I'm trying to come out of that people pleasing. And I'm like, I just have to do more and don't ask anyone for help and just make it happen and don't bother anyone. And that is not the gospel. And that is not God's best for any of us. He said himself in Genesis, it is not good that man should live alone. And he made a helper, right? We have to do it together. And if you go back to the Tower of Babel in Genesis 11, God himself said, nothing is impossible for them when they work together. And so then when we see this New Testament transition, the new church, they're growing and they're all playing these parts and they're all doing what they were created to be. And it all looks so different. And it's really important for us to remember we are clay, we are dust, we are flesh, and we're gone in a moment. And we need to make sure that what we're doing is what he called us to do, even if it means, humbling our pride. Who gets the glory, right? If we do it all of ourselves. We accomplish something amazing and we're like, yeah, God gets all the glory. No, he doesn't, because you did it all. If you don't invite people into your world to work with you and help you, they can't share the joy of seeing the mountains and seeing you conquer them with the Lord. He moves the mountains. So all of that works together in a beautiful picture that we have to change this belief system and do better in believing we are not supposed to do it all. I'm getting a little off my notes here. Sorry, I guess I'm a little fired up today. So that mindset did definitely not serve me well, and I needed to work on that, and I am grateful for what I learned. So the hustle and grind culture is completely contradictory to the gospel, if I didn't already explain that enough, and I bought into that hook, line, and sinker when I started my own journey down, consider the fields. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this and I'm going to work so hard when my kids don't need me. And I did this thing of like trying to fit in this like sprint race every time they were maybe not needing me for a second, and it wasn't serving me well. That is burnout. You don't want to try to see how much you can do. You want to make sure the things that you are doing, you're doing well, and they're what your gifting and calling is for, right? So we don't want to force something into happening when we don't want to arm wrestle our way into what more approval from God. Like, we already have his approval. So what are we seeking? And if we're doing it out of an obligation, we're doing it out of a forced yes, we've already set ourselves up to a disadvantage. So as business owners, right, we have to make decisions. We have to have boundaries. So when you already know that you have to fight that belief mindset and change that hustle and grind culture, that's not what he says. He says, come to me, all you are who are weary, and I will give you rest. And Sherry, I think you shared the link, but there is a Bible study that I wrote completely on that. There's scriptures, you guys can download that and print that for free. It gives you so many scriptures. I don't know if it helps you. When I see the word of God, I'm like, okay, like this is a must do, like this is a have to. And it helps me support the things that I want to believe when I'm fighting this hustle and grind culture, right? Or like mamas can do it all. Well, why do you want to do that? That's not modeled anywhere in scripture. And so we really have to challenge why we want to do that. So even in scripture, we say, unless you become like children, you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. And the truth seed of that is taking God at his word. When he says, you need to take that seventh day, you need to take that Sabbath. That Sabbath means a rest. And I'm not here to tell you what that looks like. I'll give you some tips and tricks that I use to expedite my life and to make it easier. But this Sabbath is going to look different for every person in every season, right? You can't take a Sabbath out of not changing your kids' diapers, right? There's this season. Now, we don't excuse that the commandment is still there, but we also need to understand, yeah, Jesus fulfilled all of that, in his work on the cross. But there is a wisdom to saying, if you look in those passages in Genesis 1, God said it's good, and God himself rested. So we need to understand that that is a pivotal point, and it is such a test of faith. I don't know if you're right, an overachiever, a business owner, you're going to make more money. Like, you never get to the end of wanting to succeed, and you're always doing better. You're always wanting to be better, and to stop, which is literally what the word Sabbath means, to stop is saying, God, I've come to the end of myself, and it's up to you to do the rest. That's an act of faith. But it is so necessary, because it's exercising that muscle that's in you, that faith muscle that says, Lord, I fully acknowledge I can never do it all without you, and you must do in me what I need to make this happen. And it's a beautiful picture of constantly remembering you are just flesh, right? And he is God, and he always will be that. It's just acknowledging he is God, and is he Lord in your life? Can you stop long enough to let him be God in your life? So there's a lot of deep-seated challenges that come with honoring that Sabbath and that rest. And that works if you're a believer or you're not. Like, that's just wisdom. You can't run a car without an oil change. You can't continue to run it. You'll ruin it. You'll blow the motor. And this works for humans. Like, we have to acknowledge your brain can only handle so much. So I just want to encourage you in that. There's no end to the hustle culture. It will always lead to burnout. So as believers, we do need to understand that if we hustle, like, we get the glory for it. If we lean into God's commandments, we enter into his rest, our lives become more peaceful, and we grow our faith, and he gets the glory for it. So there's a reason for why he has established what he did. And so we want to lean into that instead of just kind of like ignore it until it's too late. Now we have to fix a problem, right? So I want to tell you about the 4 pillars that will always help you avoid burnout and keep you grounded and successful, keep you peaceful in your life, right? You've always got to have these 4 pillars every day: faith, family, fitness, and finance. In some way or another, you have got to touch every one of these pillars every day. And think about the most solid building, right? It has those 4 pillars. You could try for a triangle, but it's still going to be unstable. And if you just have 2, that's not going to really hold anything up. It's going to tip completely. These 4 pillars, thank you, Suze: faith, family, fitness, finance. And if you find yourself touching every one of these things every day in any capacity, you will find that you're constantly touching, you have this reality, you have this sense of what's going on, right? Because there's seasons as mamas, our kids don't need us as much. They do come. There's windows and there's times when, as they're growing, yeah, we're going to be available for our teenagers. Do anybody have teenagers that like they start talking at 11 p.m., right? I was already up at 6 with the little ones, and like, oh, to have nothing left, but that's where God shows up. But when you have a pulse on each one of those areas of your life, and again, they look different for everybody, it will be impossible for you to not see when one pillar is faltering. Okay, that's going to need more of your time. Going through a health issue, you want to know how much time I had to spend on making sure I take supplements, and this one needs food, and then you've got to call the pharmacy again. Like, I have never paid so much more attention to my health, but it needed it. And in that season, something else was able to go on autopilot, maybe business and it can be as long as you decide. But if daily you're checking in, you're going to know where you need to be putting your time and attention. That's the wisdom of the Lord. And that's just asking, Lord, show me, and you're making these intentional gestures toward each one of those pillars. And you're going to see one of them's tipping, one of them's sinking. Well, that's where you lean more attention into until you get that thing uprighted. And that's the best way to avoid burnout, because where does it come from? A feeling of failure because you saw an area of your life that fell apart, or you just tried to do all of them all at the same time until no end. And you know what? If the building's stable, well, that's what we're leaning into. So it's just a really great picture in your mind to make sure that you're touching those. Let's prevent it before it even happens. And even when you come out of tax season, right, then you take that minute, you probably leaned into finance and all the things in your life, because what, you're making hay while the sun shines, right? You can't avoid tax season, and everybody wants what they want from you right at that moment. And it's urgent and it's a mess, and you're handling all these people's flaws and all the things that they've done or not done all throughout the year, and it just boom comes at you in this huge wave. Well, okay, now here's your first day. What do we call it? April. Do you rest on April 15th, or did you wait till the 16th? Like, you're still doing stuff on the 15th?
16th. Yeah, you're still doing so on the
16th. Okay, so the 16th comes, and that's when you're like, okay, I have avoided these other areas. Let me start focusing on those. And the piece that comes with actively taking this action toward an area of your life that you know you had to neglect for a season, here it is. So that always helps keep us in balance. Um, Whichever one, God is a God of order. He's not the author of confusion. So having this order in your life as a business owner, who's the best business owner? The one who has a process, right? The one who has order, the one who has this, touch point of always knowing where you're supposed to be and when. We thrive on the schedule, even creatives thrive on the schedule. You have to have windows that you know that you're free to do whatever you need to do and be creative, but also that schedule is so necessary. Why? Because it closes those loops in your mind. It closes those loops in your life that enable you and help you to see that's taken care of. I am free to be creative. I'm free to be who God called me to be in this avenue. So don't think of a schedule as like holding you down and holding you back. It's literally your key to freedom and in finishing things and accomplishing things, and also giving yourself permission to be fully you in these windows that you can't have unless you've checked off those boxes, right? We need to close those loops in our mind. So I'll share just a little personal story with you before I finish here, to help you understand the perspective of, I would challenge you to evaluate the things that you're doing in your life and all the things that you're saying yes to. I think that's a great practice. Again, if you're using those pillars, what do you need and what do you not need? Everything you're saying yes to, you're ultimately saying no to something else. And if you don't have peace in your life at this point, and you're finding it hard to recover from that season of literally just like stomping on the gas, and this constant work mode and the stress that brought you to be constantly aware of your clients and supporting them. Well, if you can't get that back, you really have to evaluate for yourself, what are your yeses? And you as a business owner have to make those boundary decisions. You as a mama have to make those mama bear decisions. There are things that need to come off your plate. There are things that you're going to have to say no to so you can say a better yes. And the sooner you acknowledge that, the healthier you'll be. So my example for you is when I got really sick. I had this really long hair, right? And it was a purple balayage. It was like my favorite. I was like, oh, it was just, I'd waited years to like do this thing. And my best friend is my stylist. So it was like this dream, right? So here I've got this full head of hair and this purple balayage. And it was just who I was. Finally, figure out who I am, and I love who I am. Well, about 2 months after I got sick, about 90% of my hair literally fell out. I lost it within 4 weeks' time. I mean, it just came out in handfuls. It just came out like we didn't even understand what was happening. And we still don't know. But I know it's not uncommon. We know that now. A lot of people that suffer from COVID, and I was just lucky enough to get Delta, I guess, which is just worse or whatever. All of my hair fell out. Okay, you guys. This hadn't happened yet. We're in the 2 month window before it did. Little do I know, but here's this long hair, this matted hair, this tangled hair. I have been so sick for weeks and weeks. I don't remember the month of September. I don't remember part of October. I knew I was strong enough to get in the car, and my husband drove me to the spa to my best friend so she could wash my hair. I was not even strong enough to wash my own hair. And so we got in the car and we're driving down the road, and I look around at the world. I mean, I'm half dead at this point, and I'm just like processing. This is the first time I've been out of the house since I've been sick. And the world kept going while my life was hanging in the balance, right? Like McDonald's kept serving people, and shoppers still kept going into Walmart, and people kept getting gas at the gas pumps. And I'm watching life continue while mine has been so severely altered. And I just looked out and I thought, I had it wrong all the time. I was rushing. I was trying to be so big, trying to be so much for the rest of the world. And do you want to know what mattered? Who I mattered to when there was nothing left? It was my kids, my husband, my team, my community. That was it. The rest of the world could have cared less whether I lived or died. And that's not a pity comment. That is a reality check for every one of us. My heart is for you to understand this is the way you decide your yeses. This is the way you decide your priorities. When something happens to you, who are the people that affect you the most? So thank you, Susie. I never know if I bring my point across well enough. So I'm just saying, this is the brass tacks of how women of God decide how they're going to model their lives, right? And I just want to encourage you to lean into the Proverbs 31 woman. She had maidservants, my friends. She had people that did things for her. And this is why I'm telling you, delegate everything you can. Get it off your plate because your people are the ones who need you. They deserve the best of you. They deserve your time. They deserve your attention. They deserve your focus, not some Facebook post that you forgot or not some client that made a mistake. It'll all work out. But if we use wisdom to put in better systems, that's where we're winning in the kingdom. You know, even when Moses was driving himself crazy because he was the judge, and day after day after day, he sat there and the people are coming to him and tattling, this is wrong, that is wrong. And his father-in-law, Jethro, came to him and he's like, Moses, this is not good. Like, you're going to kill yourself with the stress of this. You can look this up in Genesis in Exodus. And he said, you need to appoint leaders. You need to delegate people under you and have them do that for you. And so those were some of the lowest times in my life when I got a reckoning of who I was and who I wanted to be. You know, I want to be there for my kids. And it's not that I wasn't, but I was faking it. My heart wasn't in it because I was so focused on, I need to grow this business. And yes, that is important, you guys, but we can do it in a way that honors God, and we can do it in a way that matters in the kingdom. Like, what you're doing is kingdom ministry in your job, and it can come from an overflow of the success and the joy that you have at home because you know you got it. You touch those pillars, you've got that system. You're living a life that, I mean, who wants to join the team where everybody's running around frazzled and burned out? I don't want to be on that team. I want to be in the kingdom where women hold themselves and walk righteously in peace and in order. Like, that's the club I'm signing up for. And that's what Jesus promised us. And so enter into that. And that's what all the scriptures and all the Bible's for. You want some practical things? What did I say? You want some practical tips? They're also in the Bible study. I put a couple extra pages in there. If you want some literal weekly things, you guys probably already do this, but here I'm just going to encourage you. Like, you've got to be organized in your family. Like, I know it feels like the kids are like, you know, the Jurassic Park thing where all the kids, the velociraptors, you know, like they're all coming at you and you're like just handling everything all the time. But it doesn't have to be that way. It just looks like that once in a while, but you can control that. And it is so important to have a weekly schedule, just like you do in your work, just how you succeed in your life. You can time block things, have a weekly schedule, and put it on the fridge. We have great conversations that come from all of our kids sitting around, you know, they're just hanging out or they're just eating, usually on a Sunday afternoon. And we're like, okay, what's happening this week? Soccer practice. Do I have a podcast? Does my husband have a meeting? Like, there are so many things that can get plugged in on that schedule. It unifies your family. So it's like a 1-2 punch, right? You can see what's important to your kids. Do you ever have a birthday and like you didn't plan for the birthday, right? So that goes on the list and you know when it's coming on Thursday. So you order groceries for the cupcakes and you never have to do that last minute run again. It will still happen, but we can try, right? The goal is we're going for the goal. Put that schedule on your fridge and watch it unify your family. While you're doing that, meal plan. You know, Walmart even has cauliflower pizzas now, right? Everybody should have the grocery app on their phone. Like, use the grocery app. Somebody else can go get your groceries for you. It's free. And while you're meal planning, you send the kids to the cabinet, right? Like, do we have spaghetti sauce? No? Okay, we're going to order it. You're going to save time. You're going to save money. And you're doing something with your kids and teaching them what it takes to be involved. It takes a village. They want to help. They want to participate. So there are so many ways around it that you can do, delegating things and then staying organized. So on top of that, again, even in business and home, like if you can do it, delegate everything you can besides spending time with your kids and your spouse and all the good things that come with bringing you joy. Write a list. 50 things. Sit down and brainstorm of joy. What brings you joy? Write them all. Everything from eating an ice cream cone to putting your feet in the grass barefoot to going to Cancun. Like put a variety in there. And don't you go to bed every day until you've done at least 7 of those things. If that's a hot cup of coffee, make it happen. You have to choose joy. You have to choose to bring that back into your life. It's up to you to have that abundance mindset and say, I will have a life that is full of joy, that is full of rest, and I will make it happen. And God will give you wisdom on how to do that. So I hope that's helpful. Does anybody have any questions or comments? And I can't see the chat, Sherry. I'm sorry. Maybe it's just not even going.
No, you're good. It's kind of going. Sue's had some. I don't see. Someone said thank you for the download. So
Oh, absolutely. I love it. I love it.
it is an amazing download. Oh my gosh. Did you get on to talk to other people or directly to me?
Oh, Sherry.
That's how that always goes. No, what I'm so thankful you put that together. And can I share something really silly I did recently to
Please.
delegate a task? So, and Megan knows this, I had been practicing delegating for like probably the 2 years, like what works, what doesn't, what do I really need to delegate, what didn't really work to be delegated, and I just need to create a better system around it, right? Like
Mhm.
all of those things. And I think that goes for family and business. So one of the things I recently had one of my virtual assistants start doing was physically hitting submit on our Walmart grocery order. Doesn't that
Wow.
sound so awful? But like, I, my husband and I, we just add stuff to the cart all week long. If we run out of
Yes.
it, or if we see that we need it, we just put it on the thing right then and there, as
Mhm.
much as we're able, or when we sit down. And she just hits order on it. She does all the substitutions, but then we also see that email come through that
Mhm.
it got placed, right? She does it at the same time every week, so we already know.
Mhm.
But there's a window of when the cutoff is. So if all of a sudden we notice, hey, we've been behind this week, and we forgot to do the meal planning or whatever, like it's an additional reminder. Go do that, because you have to, like, we have like till 1 a.m. So we
Yes.
can do it after the kids go to bed, and we can just wrap up the order, add some stuff to the cart, but we don't have to go confirm whatever the stuff is because she's already set it up. Like, isn't like that feels so like selfish of me, but I'm like, it has just that little, like, it just became an issue of like, no, we didn't place the order this week, so we don't have groceries. And
Yes. How about you took action on a problem that was in your home and now you show up better in your home and your business because you fixed the problem?
it takes her like 15 minutes. It's
Mhm.
no time at all, but it solved the problem. And I also did this a couple of years ago, so I'm just trying to encourage you guys on like how like the little things really make a difference. But I think it started in the family. So my husband was working full time. At that point, I was full time at home. It was before I started my business. And I was like, I would find that I would have to text him during the day to get a code if I needed to pay a bill or something.
Oh,
That was so annoying. I was like, I can't be texting you. Like, at first it was fine because I was working full time, he was working full time, but I was like, I cannot be bugging him. Like, I just need him to work, and I just need to be able to take care of it. So I implemented LastPass. So him and I both share LastPass, and we share
yes.
all of our passwords. So if I need something, if he needs something, I don't know how legal that is, but LastPass allows you to do it. So like, I can get the password, I can log in. I don't even have to ask him because we just click share every time we have to set up an account, so he can access anything of mine at any time, like Facebook. Like, oh my gosh, I forgot to send a Facebook message, but I'm trapped with a kid trying to put a kid to bed, and he could just go send it, and it's no big deal. So creating those little things. And what I will literally, I have a notebook that follows me around. It's not up here right now, it's in my other room, where I will just, it's like $50 a month, Sue's. So now I pay for the family because he's on it, I'm on it, and then I have the admin on it so she can get the Walmart password, things like that. So LastPass is, there's others. It just seemed, it worked for
Mhm.
me at that point in time because it was free. We've grown into it. $50 a year is no big deal for the headache it saves us. But I will literally just brain dump. What are the tasks? And I did this like
Yeah.
2 weeks ago. What are all the tasks? And that's where I discovered the Walmart grocery order
Mm-hmm.
of that's a hiccup. I
Mm-hmm.
could streamline that. Per year, Suze.
And
Go
she
ahead.
had also asked about the app. Yeah, Walmart will do your groceries for free. Kroger does too. I think if it's over $35, you can also buy their memberships where you get discounts or like super groceries, but they are free. The apps are free and they will shop for you for free. Even I think the minimum's $35. Who doesn't spend that with like four things anymore? So unfortunately, that's just the way it is. They are not allowed to accept tips. I thank
Walmart will
them
do
all the
like a
time.
delivery tip or whatnot. But
I'm
there's like a
sorry.
delivery fee on most. So like if you do DoorDash, we
Yeah,
actually,
Instacart. I know there's
yeah.
fees for things like that. I don't use that. I'm sorry. Yeah, you take it one step further and have somebody bring your grocery. We don't have that because we live in Franklin County,
Oh,
way
gotcha.
out in the boonies. So yeah, I have to drive, but it's no problem. It saves me even physically. And then we went from 4 to 6 children in the course of 1 year. We brought our foster son in, and that took us up to 5. And within a year, we had his sister, and all of a sudden, we have 6 kids in the house. I was pulling 2 carts
Yeah.
just to get us through like 5 days. That was apples. I mean, like, how many pounds of apples do you think 8 people go through? It was
Bananas.
insanity. And so I wrote Walmart a letter like after I got COVID, and I was like, y'all, I could not have done this without you. You have saved my life, my business. Same thing, special events at the store when we're opening the doors, you can get those cookies, you can order cider, you can use the bakery. I mean, they bring it out to you. And so what a
Diapers.
beautiful way to utilize that in your business as well.
Absolutely. So Suze, I do tip them. I do delivery because when we had my third, I had three and under. So I did start doing delivery, and that really works for us because it just shows up Tuesday morning
Yes.
in between a
Mhm.
call. The kids help lug it in. They've learned to put it
Mhm.
away. So that
Mhm.
that worked for me. Before that, we were doing pickup. So like we actually took it a step further, and I canceled Costco because they don't have a pickup option. We kept Sam's Club because they have a pickup option. I
Yes, they
didn't need
do.
both. Right.
Mhm.
So like really just streamlining. And I think just brain dumping, you can do this with coffee, sitting down in front of a TV show and just brain dumping everything that you touch
So good.
during the week and just start and you can start small. So like my first VA was like 2 hours a week,
Mhm.
right? So it can be really small and it's just something that you don't have to remember. So obviously there's calendar things that you can set up, things like that, but sometimes just being able to take it off, having to frantically, so with Walmart grocery, I'm just using that as an example. You can apply this to pulling bank statements, you can apply this to requesting that piece of information from your client. But if you have to remember to do it and there's a cutoff, so these are the things I ixnay first. If there's a timeline, a deadline on it that requires me to meet a deadline, can I outsource it? Because what happens is I will forget or put it off in the hustle and bustle, and all of a sudden that deadline's here. So those are really time sensitive stuff I put on someone else. Not that I want them to live a life of chaos, but because I've set up a system where they can do it ahead of time. I just want to make sure it's done. And so developing a team where you're giving, so like my viewpoint and the way I've set up my business, Tara, feel free to chime in on this, is there are women who are looking for a way to stay at home with their kids, but they do not need to start their own business, right? Like it's not their season of life.
Mhm.
That's not what God has called them to do, but they would like to bring in extra money, somewhere
Mhm.
between $50 and maybe $500 a month, maybe more, right? And that gives me an opportunity to let them start doing that.
Mhm.
Where maybe they do turn it into a business, a virtual assistant business or something else, or digital products. I've seen people come to me, we start doing a task, and then they do go off and start their own business. And we either they keep it, so like they've now created a business behind whatever it was that we started with, or they've now had the opportunity sparked on, oh, this is how I do this, and then they go do it. So like
Mhm.
sometimes it's like we start feeling really guilty for delegating. you don't know how God's going to use it.
Yeah, it's a mindset. It's a belief system, isn't it? And that hustle culture mixed with pride and independent culture, like you can't win. You will be your own worst enemy. You will wrestle yourself to the mat. And we have to address both of those and line up biblically. Like, what did God say? You know, do not despise the day of small beginnings. And it's the small foxes that ruin the vine. I'm misquoting that one, but the little foxes that they will ruin the vine. It's the little things. Our brain needs everything on auto connect, except for the people that we love the most.
Right? You can't you can't outsource reading the book to the toddler.
Totally.
Right. So Cynthia, I have two thoughts. So I'll come back to this. Cynthia on Facebook says, what if you're just starting out and finances do not allow for outsourcing to someone else?
Ooh.
I have a thought on this, but I want to hear your thought first.
Well, the first thing I want to do is flip that around. Like you said, write it all on the paper, but let's change our mindset instead of I can't into how can I? And then you decide what's the most important. Let's just tackle what is most important to you. And your life is going to look different than anyone else's. And call it a victory, you know, when you can do the first thing. But what resources do you have? Maybe it's not money. Maybe it is time. Maybe, like Sherry's saying, you can put yourself in somewhere else, or there's another way to make cash, or there's another way to save, or whatever the issue at hand is. I may not have money, but what do I have? And then you make that work for you to get to your next goal.
So there's a lot of free apps. So what I would do too, so like after you write it all down, I would start by using apps first. So like Zapier is free, right? So you can have Zapier collect information. And then after that, 2 hours a week, 1 hour a week, 3 hours a month, that might be $30 total. So if you're paying someone $10, $15,
Yes.
20, like it doesn't, and I would really encourage business owners delegating at the beginning of their business.
Yes. Don't be afraid of the numbers, because
I
once
really
you
would.
realize it's $30 or $50, that is a lot more doable than I can't hire for X, Y, and Z. Get a quote, get the number. Don't be afraid of that. Walk in your authority, trying to figure this thing out, and know that you're called to do it and figure out a way to happen, and it will follow. That doesn't mean we go foolish and we go into debt. These are not the kind of people we're talking to. Y'all know that. I know that already. But you can do it.
Yeah, and I know Megan, you've said before, like you would have absolutely done it. I'm gonna pick on you from the jump street, which I didn't understand for years, from the start. And you argued that you might just need, like, if you need $200 a month, right? Well, now it's costing you $50, so now you've got 150. So yes, you do need another client, but now you're used to 150, not the 200.
Yeah.
And building that into it because it's an expense to the business
Mm.
versus like I need all the money. So I like, and I'm not saying don't pay yourself first. Don't have all the money go out in expenses because that's really easy to do. But if we say, so especially if you think about like profit first methodology where 30% goes to OPEX, you're going to take 50% home as take home. And so developing a system on how you're going to use your finances, and that's personal, that's business. How does that come together? And how are we going to use that and steward that for God's glory so that we're honoring our family, we're honoring the time. And I think that's really true. For our work week comes to mind. But
Beautiful.
I think it's really true when we're trying to work full time, maybe start a business, or our spouse is still working full time. And I'm not going to say it's not hard to build that in. At some seasons, it's easier than others, but
Mm-hmm.
doing it from the get go, because technically you didn't have the money beforehand.
Mm.
And yeah, we're starting a business to meet some income goal, typically, is what I see. But if we can sacrifice it as we grow, we're going to grow smarter, faster, wiser,
That's
without
good.
the burnout. So
And a business buddy, like don't do this alone. Have somebody to do it with you. I don't know if you guys have that like within your community, but that is so helpful to have a business buddy to encourage you. So whatever your goals are, I forgot who asked the question. I'm so sorry, but I just wanted to be encouraging
Cynthia.
that, yeah, Cynthia, yeah, to have those have someone. You know, you're not in this alone. We're going to figure this out together and ask God for wisdom. You know, that's what Solomon did. God said, "I'll give you anything you want." And he said, "Well, give me all the wisdom." And the wisdom of God, you can't outdo that. And he will. He will equip you. He will anoint you. Your little steps of faith are blessing his heart. That's the good God that we serve. He's a good father. He wants to see you succeed. It's not waiting for you to fail or fall short. He's there for you to catch you when you fall. He'll help you.
Absolutely. And it's really funny how money works. Like I always think of like Jesus filling the
Mm,
wineskins. Because sometimes that's how money actually works. And it's not like our
yes.
accountant's brains want to say 1 + 1 = 2. Sometimes the way cash flow works is very much the wineskin
Hmm.
methodology, and it's really trippy to my mind brain. I'm like, that shouldn't have worked out. How did that work out?
Yes.
And sure, ultimately it does. 1 + 1 = 2, but it shouldn't have May
Hmm.
1st, right? But it did May 31st, and so it's just really giving your goals to God there. Sue says no, not Costco. Yeah, Costco got cut. Didn't have pickup. uh, I'm so glad that this podcast has been a blessing and an encouragement. I really hope it is for those of you that are listening. Just a reminder, we do have accountability in the Bookkeeper Blueprint. So if you're looking for
Awesome.
coaches who have been through this, in addition to Megan and I, we have 10, 11 other coaches now
Awesome.
who have done this. They show up each week to help answer questions, tell you how they did things, tell you what they're delegating, how they're using software, if that's a quicker option for you, all of those things. So, are there any other questions that I missed before we start to? And while we're looking for those questions, I don't see any others at the moment. I was listening to something last night. I'm always listening to something or like absorbing information. That is like my skill. Um, and the guy was saying, kind of in the hustle culture mindset, sometimes it's saying no to ourselves. So his point was that we say yes to everyone. We can say yes to everyone. We can say yes to the project. We can say yes to, you guys might have heard this week on a mutual thing that we all listen to, or I know that the three of us listen to. And the comment was said that, oh, I'm explaining that I missed it. How did she say it? Oh, like we'll write the book, but we don't want to market it, right? So like we
Yes.
don't have the guts to market it. But we took time from our family to write the book. So we said yes to the book for some reason. Sometimes we need to say no to ourselves. Because like we didn't actually market it, right? So I'm taking it a different direction than this person did on the podcast. I think she's absolutely right. But sometimes when we get a creative bent, we do need to pause and say, what am I doing with this? And sometimes it's just because we want to be seen. We have this dream and it's coming from pride
Mm,
instead of really serving our business or our family right then and right now.
agree.
And it might not be its time. We might need to put it on the bookshelf and say, not yet. Not
Not
that we
yet.
forget about it, not
Mhm.
that we put it away, just not yet. And we need to
Pick a
say no
number.
to ourselves
Hmm.
so that we can say yes to what we really want. Because sometimes it's a mistaken, oh, I have this dream and it might be out of place. And I'm guilty of this. That's why I'm saying it. Because I'm guilty of like starting the project and not finishing it. And it takes me time away from my kids. It takes me time away from my sleep, things like that. And if I don't see it through, I should have said no to
Ooh.
it. You know, like,
Mhm.
and I could have said no to the beginning, because if I had paused and said, when am I going to market this? When am I going to put it into play? Leading with that plan would have been a better
It's so good.
decision. So sometimes staying with ourselves. Oh, so good, Tara. Thank you so much for jumping on and just
Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you for
starting this
inviting me. I
conversation.
love to
It's good
talk about
timing.
this stuff.
And you're just an amazing example of resting and really putting your family first. I loved that as we were chatting, you can I share your
Please,
conversation with
open book.
you went to your husband and you said, can I even do this? And he's like, if anyone, yes. Because you do such a good job of really caring for your family, and the fact that your husband is able to say that and really shine a light into that, like, I think we all see it. Courtney sees it, all those things. So
I am grateful.
okay, I think that was it of the questions, Megan, that I saw come through.
Yeah, that's all I've seen too.
Cool. Cool. Anything else you want to add? Oh, so her Bible, so Tara has a Bible study. So she just shared like a freebie link to it. But if you're interested in her shirts, I have one. I have the sunshine one. Now I failed to put it on this one, and I was going to. She has shirts and a Bible study. Do you want to speak more to what you have, how you serve?
Well, you can just shop from us like a normal. We're just a faith-based. We have devotionals, Bibles, journals, anything encouraging and gift. But and you can all shop online. But also our main fun goal, our hope, our everything is our t-shirt club. And so just every month you get a new t-shirt. You can add the earrings if you want. And then yeah, there's the Bible study. You can pick and choose out of any of those three. Like if you just want the Bible study, then that means every month we're going live on Zoom in a private Facebook group twice a month and unpacking whatever that scripture happened to be. Thank you, Sherry. And you can find all the information there. We call it Buy a Shirt, Change a Life, because as the club grows, we're able to launch this program for these women. And this year I learned how to write grants in my bachelor's, right? So I'll be able to start a day program for these women where they're coming to our store one of the days that we're closed, and we're starting to teach them like life skills and community. We'll be doing Bible study with them, but also like how to balance a checkbook and how to boil water and how to love on your kids and teach them that they can do it, you know, the pieces that they never had. So when you're buying from us, as we say, buy a shirt, change a life, and everyone can do something. You know, if you're a t-shirt person, get a graphic t-shirt every month with earrings and a Bible study, as much or as little as you want. It all makes a difference and it all moves the needle. So we're so grateful.
Amazing. So I did share the link. So
Thank you.
if you guys are watching on Facebook or YouTube, you have the link, and then here in Zoom, you have the link. It's a really cute website, pretty easy to navigate. So if you're looking for a t-shirt, they have kids too. I almost put my kids on a subscription. So
It is so cute to see the little kids with their designs. Yeah, we have a guy option. If you just want to do something, you want to be a part, but you're not a t-shirt person, just buy for your guy. And every month they get a new t-shirt and you look like a great wife, right?
and they don't have holes in the armpits like that, like, or like the first ones to like happen. Or at least that's my husband. Maybe
I love it. No, it's true. It's a thing.
Okay, well, thank you guys so much for jumping on. If you have questions, feel free to continue the conversation. We'll jump into the Facebook and the YouTube chats. You have the contact information through the website for Tara. So
Yeah, anytime. I'd be glad to chat with anybody.
okay. Well, thank you guys. I will go ahead and end this recording. But thank you so much. It was a pleasure to chat today.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.